Hello, my name is Tony Berard, and this video is going to be another Fireside Chat. This will be my third one. I've done a lot of work over the years, so it's just going to take a long time to talk about it all. You don't have to study all of my work. You could just pick one of my board games. I've written a number of books, too. I have this sheet I just prepared. If you go to www.amazon.com/author/Tony Berard, that's one word, no space there, you will see my page. That's my timer. So my page has several books on there. This is 3 of the books. The Performance Rating Algorithm and Tournament App by Anthony Berard. Tony Berard and Anthony Berard is the same person. Now, this is the ISBN. I guess I'll zoom in on that. 1099627923. This ISBN is assigned specifically to this book. So if you put in just that ISBN number, you will find my book. This performance rating algorithm is a very powerful algorithm. I have a few friends on Facebook. One of them is a PhD in mathematics. He has extensively tested my rating system and found it to be vastly superior to the ELO rating system. It's able to make predictions for him better than anything he's ever found. And I knew it was a good rating system. It took me about 3.5 years to find it. So, I mean, it was not easy. I had to invent a lot of rating systems. And one would think that if something sounds good, it's good. That's not true in math. Just because it sounds good, it may not be true. So it took me a long time to find the rating system. And when I found it, it was working beautifully. You know, it did. It was amazing. Truly was. And I began to use it to study chess history. So I had the product first, and then I studied chess history. And so I found out a number of things about chess history that's quite surprising. Nowadays, people will tell you that the greatest performance player ever was Garry Kasparov. And number 2, they'll tell you, is Karpov. And then, you know, they might say Fischer third, but it's a grab bag as to where they'll put Fischer. And yeah, that's about it. But anyway, my rating system found far and away that Fischer is the greatest player ever. And Kasparov, probably top 5 or 6. But Karpov is better than Kasparov, I found. Yeah, they had their match and he lost, but Karpov's an older player. If we compare their best performances in the tournaments, Karpov has several performances better than Kasparov's best. So it's Karpov, you know, historically did better. And the best performance ever actually was done by a guy in 1898 by Dr. Siegbert Tarrasch. My performance rating system measured that as the greatest performance ever. In the same tournament, Harry Nelson Pillsbury was in it. He was an American player. Dr. Tarrasch was a German player. And Jeff Sonas, he developed a rating system called Chessmetrics. And so I used Chessmetrics to give me some preliminary ratings information about the players going into a tournament, but my rating system will check those ratings and see if they're right or not. And if they're not, my rating system can correct those rating systems or those ratings. And then with corrected ratings, then assess the performances. So Jeff Sonas, in my eyes, carried the ball pretty far downfield, but he didn't punch it in for a touchdown. So, but without him having it carried down the field, I couldn't have done what I did either. I also use ELO ratings when I test tournaments. I have found that the ELO ratings have less error in them than what I find with the Chessmetrics system. So Chessmetrics claims to be an improvement over ELO, but I have not found that to be the case. But be that as it may, I use both Chessmetrics and ELO to assess tournaments. And then I've developed some different things within my rating system. One of them is called the G-score. That's my big measurement of performance. And I can compare G-scores of players from different eras. And G stands for greatness. Yes, I have a greatness formula. Sounds funny to roll off the lips, but yes, it measures a player's greatness. And it's a beautiful thing, really. And you can, it's calibrated based on the number 2 player in the world at the time. And so with rating inflation or a possible deflation, if you calibrate it to the number 2 rating in the world at that time, it will, it's like a buoy, you know, it'll go up and down as the thing goes down, but it's measuring relative to the height of that buoy. And so it's a very stable measurement. And then you can compare performances of players across the eras. And it's a beautiful thing. And so I have a list, you know, where I have all these different performances. And another thing about this is that the rating system is measuring the individual performances of each player. And each player gets a G-score. And so a player that came in second or third can have a higher G-score than somebody in a tournament 2 or 3 decades later. And so you would think, oh, well, this person won that tournament. I only want to know about the winner. Well, my rating system looks a lot deeper than that. It assesses the performances of every player in all the tournaments. And then it ranks them all. And if you have a player, well, I guess the upshot of this is even players that finish second and third can finish much higher than players that finish first. Because a player might barely win a tournament, you know, but a player that came in second or third might have still had a dominating performance, but just the winner had an even more dominating performance. And so, you know, it's a really amazing conception. And so the second best performance of all time was not someone who won a tournament. It was someone who got second place, Harry Nelson Pillsbury. So, but he's not considered, you know, top 10 by my rating system because I have another measurement called the G5 Career Composite. And what that is you take the top 5 performances of a player during their career. And it doesn't matter if they get them early or late. You just take the player's best 5 performances during their career. And you can then average those G-scores. So the G5 Career Composite is an average of the best 5 performances of a player. And when you do that, Harry Nelson Pillsbury doesn't have a very high score to put him, you know, in the upper echelons of chess. Yes, he has the second best performance of all time, but his next best performance is, you know, yeah, he won Hastings 1895, but he barely won it, and it was the G-score. It was worthy of a world champion for sure, and but it wasn't, you know, a super dominating score like what he did at Vienna 1898. A player like Karpov, his best 2 performances that I found was Las Palmas 1977, Sometimes I think it's 1973, but I think it's 1977. Las Palmas, 1977. Karpov, that was his best performance. I think he got a G-score of 337, which is pretty good. That's a top 10 performance of all time. Kasparov does not have a top 10 performance of all time in any of his performances. He had Tilburg 1989 and Batumi 2001. I think those were his best two. And Batumi 2001 just edged out his Tilburg 1989. So, and those two performances were 305, 303, and 305, I think. Mark Taimanov, his best was better than Kasparov's best. Taimanov had like a 305 point something. He scored like a half a point higher. Still at 305. It might have been 306. I'd have to look at my list to be sure. I'm just shooting from the hip trying to remember my research. But Mark Taimanov, his best performance was Tbilisi 1957. So Mark Taimanov was a great player. So when Bobby Fischer beat him in the candidates tournament 6-0, Bobby Fischer beat a very good player. And Mark Taimanov was not a slouch. Mark Taimanov was also a concert pianist. Not a lot of people know that. But yes, Mark Taimanov could play the piano too. Bobby Fischer could only do one thing, but Mark Taimanov, he could also play the piano wonderfully. I tried to enter my rating system into the Breakthrough Prize. The Breakthrough Prize is a $3 million prize. So it's bigger than the Nobel Prize. The Nobel Prize is $1 million. So the, this is the very paper I submitted to. You have to submit this to the American Mathematical Association. So I submitted the performance rating and tournament app. I submitted that. It was just a paper though. It was a PDF file that I sent to them. And I got a letter of rejection that said, your paper cannot be accepted for publication because it does not meet our standards for publication. So to the email address that I got the rejection letter from, I replied and I asked them what were their publication standards, and where in my paper did I not meet that so I can correct it. No response. I waited like 2 weeks and then I realized I wasn't going to get a response. I got my obligatory rejection letter and that was that. And I spent 3.5 years developing this. No, it's not Andrew Wiles's proof of Fermat's last theorem. That took him 7 years in isolation. But this took me 3.5 years. And as I've already mentioned, it was the best that this one PhD researcher, who was an expert in chess, could find. It was better than anything he had found. And there was another mathematician who looked at my work and said that it was the highest quality writing he had ever seen. So, I mean, these are other people talking about my work, not me. Although you won't find any disagreement from me. I'm good. So, but anyway, I tried to, you had to submit your work to the American Mathematical Association. And you could not have published it anywhere else. And if you had, then it would not be acceptable for publication in the American Mathematical Association, and you would not be considered for the Breakthrough Prize. So I hadn't published it anywhere else. Well, I have now. I published it on Amazon. So I am no longer eligible for the Breakthrough Prize. Not that they would have taken me anyway, because I tried to get in already. But this, I didn't change one word. It's the same PDF file that I sent to the Breakthrough Prize. So you can get that book and see for yourself what quality it is. So anyway, that's my general lament. I should be $3 million richer because that is an amazing rating system. But I couldn't even get into the contest. but that's water under the bridge. But the other Fireside Chats I have, this is my game fighting checkers. I have a piece of paper in here, so I thought, I guess I don't. My Fireside Chat must be in the paper, must be in the my other box for Go 12. So, well, anyway, that's about what I wanted to say about the rating system. I tried to enter it in the contest. I couldn't get in the contest. So in some way, I think it's a little unfair. You know, you got to be in the in crowd for them, I suppose. I have a few minutes left. I'm going to talk about Casa's Daughter by Tony Berard. Here's the ISBN 109-88-63917. This ISBN will get you to that book, Casa's Daughter. Casa is the goddess of chess. And my book, I created a mythical character. Her name is Syzygy. Syzygy is an alignment of 3 celestial bodies. And so there was a great Syzygy in the book that Zeus induced so that the sun could be blotted out and there wouldn't be any light from the planets either. And then when Syzygy peers out as a newborn baby into the cosmos, she will see deeper than anyone before. And she happens to see a great movement in the sky, and it turns out to be the creator of the universe. And anyway, the story goes on from there. It's a wild ride. She winds up creating a bunch of board games with the same names of the games that I created. Of course, the book is a promotional work. So it's meant to give a nice fictitious setting for the board games. And certainly a goddess creating board games is a pretty good promotional tool. So that's what that book's all about. I found out 2 days ago that Karpov wrote a book called My Sister Casa. So Karpov makes himself a god. So I posted something on Facebook about Casa's daughter and Karpov's book, My Sister Casa. And so I said, well, Syzygy must be Karpov's niece. Pretty funny. All right. Well, anyway, that's Casa's daughter. Her name is Syzygy. She's I don't think anything's ever been written more powerful than her. She literally is the most powerful being that ever existed in all of literature. So if you ever get to know me, you'd find out that if I say things like that, they're true. So read the book. It's a great read. You'll learn a lot about science and mythology, and you'll learn a little bit too about my board games. This last bit in this Fireside Chat is about the flaws, death, and successor to chess, Tines and Barbs. Tines and Barbs is my board game. It took me 17 years to build. And my channel on YouTube is called Tines and Barbs. That's because that's the foundation of it all. That game took me 17 years to build. So, you know, my stuff is the product of very patient, careful thinking. I strive to get simplicity, and it's hard to get it. You know, it really is hard. That's the hardest part, to make things as simple as possible, and yet be able to produce the great complexity. Tines and Barbs meets that. Took it a while, but I've since done even better. Go 12 is even simpler and yet more complex. As paradoxical as that sounds, it's true. So, yeah. But anyway, this book is a great read. It took me probably 8 or 9 years to write this book. Its ISBN is 1456562525. It's a lot of pattern in that number. But all 3 of those are really great books. So I highly recommend, if you can read at least one book this year, read one of those. Thank you for your time. This is Tony Berard signing off.